what I'd like to discuss this afternoon. Some of you may not know what project management is, so I'd just like to kind of review that and talk a little bit about that. And then I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what I did or my younger years growing up a little bit, just touch base, and a little bit in the middle years, and then finding my passion and some continued education that I've taken in the past 10 years. And then I have what have I done? Well, it's sort of an exclamation mark. It's like, oh my God, what have I done? IKEA was a phenomenal adventure in my life, so I'd like to share that. And then what am I doing today? And then we can take any questions. So project management. What is project management? Planning, organizing, motivating, and leading people, a team, to achieve a specific goal, task, or project. It can be anything from building a Blue Bomber stadium, football stadium, to something as simple as baking a cake. And of course then on a 400,000 square foot IKEA. A project consists of three major objectives. Scope, which is really, it just defines what you want. And that, as a project manager, is part of your role, is to help the client or the customer to understand exactly what they want. Establish a timeline, and then, of course, how much money it's going to cost. If we have time, I'll talk about risk, because every project has something that's unforeseen. And I won't touch on quality, but that's another objective for the project manager. So something really simple, making a cake. So scope. What kind of cake do you want? Do you want it to be chocolate, vanilla, icing, sugar, icing, whatever you want? So that's identifying the type of cake you want. Time. When do you have to bake the cake? Is it for an anniversary, a birthday? When do you need it by? And then budget. Of course, you have to go grocery shopping to get all the ingredients, and how much money will you need to buy the ingredients. So that's really, really very, very simple terms. But it is true. It's everything you do is project management. So I'm just going to touch a little bit on this. I had said I followed my dad and my brother everywhere. Well, it's true. I was kind of an annoying little girl. I think I followed my dad when I was growing up. He taught me how to to understand construction, because he was always building, painting fences, sawing two pieces of wood, nailing two pieces of wood together, and I was always right behind him, always asking questions and nipping at his heels, and sometimes he would get frustrated and just say, "Stop, just watch, just don't even talk, no more." So I did. I watched. And then, of course, my brother, the two guys in my life, my brother taught me to be tough and never back down, use your words, and he always believed in me. As you can see, I'm a female girl, and in the construction world, that's sometimes not always common. So I've had to kind of keep going in the construction world, and it's been a bit challenging, and I will touch a little bit on that, but not too much. Things are changing, definitely. I took architectural drafting in grade 11 and grade 12. I think they still have the course, I'm not sure, but I took it, and because I love to draw, and I understood things. I understood how to put things together. Again, maybe it goes back to being young and following my dad everywhere. And of course, I was always just the one or two girls in the class. But it didn't bother me. My middle years, I continued on to my architectural drafting, and I actually took it in Red River and got my diploma or my certificate. And again, I was one of two girls, and our drafting room was in the farthest part of the campus, and we were stuck with the mechanics and the welders, and I'm not sure why, but that's where it was. So that was quite an interesting feat for me, I guess. My first job was in a very large architectural firm in the city of Winnipeg. At the time, in the early 80s, the economy for construction wasn't very busy, so I was quite lucky, actually, to get a job in the architectural firm. Let you know that construction right now is booming in Winnipeg. It's like trades. you can get a job. It's actually really, really great right now, both for the architectural firms, so you understand the architects have to design something. Well, there's a developer and the architects, and then of course the contractors which build it. So Winnipeg's doing really quite well. I was a junior draftsperson, and of course the junior or the green person got sent on a lot of errands. I got all the crap jobs, if you wanted to call it that, but that's the way it is. That's what you do, right? And I wanted to learn, and I needed the job. So I was sent out to do measuring for the architects. I ran errands, I photocopied, I printed. In those days we had the old printing machines, ammonia, and of course every Friday in the old times, the architects used to have parties Friday nights, and I had to go and do the beer runs and the food runs. So, hey, you did what you had to do in those days. So I was then finally not a junior person or considered too junior. I was put onto teams, and I was actually working on buildings and projects for customers. And I gained a lot of experience, and so much so that I felt confident enough to go to other architectural firms. So I applied for other jobs in architectural firms. Again, the economy started to increase. So I was put on other bigger projects, and I quit that large architectural firm, and I went to another architectural firm, and interior design, actually. I worked for interior designers. So that's probably about the first 10 years of my career, and I started liking certain types of projects, ones where there was a bit of give back, I guess, healthcare. I really liked working on the healthcare projects, so for hospitals or clinics, personal care homes, and I noticed that there was a weakness between communicating with the clients and the architects. The architects, you know, they're visionaries. They love to build beautiful structures, but sometimes it's not really what the clients need or want. And so there was a miscommunication. So I started interviewing the clients and getting really into what exactly they wanted. Was it really carpet, or was it an exam table in this room, or how it had to be positioned? And I decided that, you know what, the clients really need someone like me that can interpret the architectural design drawings and construction and interpret it for the clients and vice versa. So I noticed that there was this overlap. So I applied for a job at St. Boniface Hospital, and I got it, and I was the project coordinator. I worked there for about 4 or 5 years, and the health authority, which is now the sort of the global command center for all healthcare projects, and I applied for a job there. And because I noticed that we needed standards. We needed standards in the personal care homes. We needed, if we're going to put carpet, it needed to be a certain type of carpet. If we were going to put furniture, we needed a certain type of furniture. And so I applied for a job at the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority, and I got that too. So that's about 15 years or so, almost 20 years, and that I had been in the healthcare community. And I thought, you know what, I need to change. How about corporate? Something completely different. So that's all the office buildings downtown, that's building big Trizac buildings or banks and, you know, different things like that. And I applied at MTS. MTS at the time had purchased Allstream, which is a fiber optic company, Canadian-wide, and they actually have 1,300 sites across Canada that need to be managed from a facilities perspective, whether it's maintenance, new construction, anything like that. And I applied as their national accommodation manager, and I got that job. And that was a great job. I learned so much, and I actually started to do a lot of traveling at the time. All of this has project management to a certain degree, always managing projects and managing what's going into it, what's actually built from a construction perspective, but you're sort of the visionary, you're the big picture person, you're not so much in the trenches. After MTS Allstream, I went to Pembina Trail School Division, which I am at back there now. I was the assistant director of facilities, and that was managing 33 schools on the south side of Winnipeg. I had all this experience, all this knowledge, all these places that I have in my brain, and I love learning. I love understanding people, their project dynamics. Project managers manage people. They manage a team of people. So it's really important from an HR perspective is to find out what makes people tick and what motivates them. And I started to find that out, what motivates clients, what motivates the contractors, what motivates the architects and interior designers. So I wanted to learn more. And so I ended up going back to school evenings because I had to work full time. So I took a certificate in management, and the certificate in management, I took law courses, I took accounting because you have to manage budgets, you have to come in on budget. I took human resource organizational behavior, learning about people. So that was the University of Manitoba. Also, I took another certificate course. It was facilities management administrator. That's managing the facilities. I mean, it's nice to put brand new carpet or brand new flooring in a space, but if you don't know how to clean it, or you know, you're telling the head caretakers or the cleaning people to clean the flooring, but they don't know how, or you know it's going to be ripped out in 2 years because it's going to be destroyed, so why don't I put up something more heavy duty? Lighting, you know, going to T5s or T8s or T12s, energy efficiency, all of that. So that's what I learned through BOMA Canada. BOMA stands for Building Operators Management Association, something like that. Yeah, I think I have it written down, but yeah, managing buildings. So I had architecture, interior design, I had the facilities, I knew how to deal with people, teams, and I also took project management actually at the University of Manitoba, and that was another course that I thought was really beneficial. So I had all this, and as I'm driving down Kenaston one day about a year and a half, 2 years ago, they're putting up this big IKEA sign saying coming soon. This was about March, April 2011, and I thought, they probably already have a project manager. I mean, this is big. I mean, they probably had the project manager hired for a long time. So I went home and I Googled it. Sure enough, nope, they hadn't hired the person yet. And I thought, wow, I'm not afraid, you know, take a risk. So I applied. And sure enough, 6 months later, after I applied, I got the job. It wasn't easy though. 6 months of headhunters interviewing me, their boss interviewing me, another headhunter interviewing me. That was even before IKEA had even interviewed me. Then IKEA did. I don't know how many interviews I had with them. Then they sent me to Calgary to be interviewed. Then I had 2 psychological tests. I'm going, really? This is a building, a big blue box. But I went with it, and I ended up getting the job. So I felt pretty proud. Here I am. All of Winnipeg wants IKEA, right? And I was carrying the torch for all of Winnipeg. We had the Jets and IKEA. Life couldn't have gotten any better, I think. So finally, I got the job, and then I guess it kind of sunk in after a while, and I went, oh my God, what have I done? I've never done retail. I did retail when I worked at MTS, and that was the little baby Connect stores that you go and buy your phone, the little kiosks. That was it. That was my extent of retail. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So here I was, hired. First day, October 3rd, 2011, sitting in the middle of a field with a bunch of bulldozers and big front-end loaders and cranes and drillers, me in a trailer all by myself. And as these trucks went by, my trailer was, you know, bouncing up and down. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but this contracting company, this construction company, was looking at me as the person that was going to make this happen. It was pretty scary. IKEA hired me an accountant because my budget was not just a little, you know, $100,000 budget. It was big budget. So that I had an accountant. So the accountant came from the IKEA in Richmond and joined me in the trailer. And that was about the 3rd month in, January, I guess, January, February, and then he hired an assistant from IKEA in Richmond as well. So the 3 of us sat in this trailer for a few months all by ourselves. And then the people started to come. from all over the world. You have no idea how much and how many people came to build our IKEA store. There was at least 200 people from all over the world that were the experts to build IKEAs, because that's what they did. That doesn't even include the 200 people that we hired locally, the store people, to take it over after it opens. So we had approximately 400 people working in that building. That was just the IKEA people. That didn't include the construction guys that were also building it. That was probably another 400 at many points of the time. So 800 people that were building that store. I had to follow, of course, our project management process, just like I had mentioned: scope, budget, time. Unfortunately or fortunately, everything comes from Sweden for IKEA. So Sweden identified the scope. You know, it's always going to be blue and yellow. Everything is going to be pretty much the same in every store. Some things changed because it was Winnipeg. Winnipeg store does not look like Richmond's store in Vancouver or Toronto. So that was managed by me to make sure that the scope, what they wanted, is built. The time I had a little bit more managed or developed by myself, as well as head office. So we had a big critical path. We did end up opening on time, November 28th. They actually wanted it earlier, but we got November 28th. And the budget, of course, that is also developed by Sweden and by the head office here in Canada. All managed by the project manager. So this is what I saw every day. Home is the most important place in the world. So I have some pictures of the store as it was being developed. This was a rendering by the architect. He did quite a few, and the architect was actually from Vancouver. We tendered the job. So at the bottom, I don't know if you can see some of the trailers there. That's where I lived. Actually, there was only 2 trailers at one point. There ended up being almost 20 trailers when it was all said and done. Remember I said 400 people and 400 contractors? But that's the construction site. Big open field. It's not like that now, but... And those are the trucks and the front-end loaders that were going past my little trailer, rocking it, and some more pictures. So the exterior, the steel was up. So the exterior was starting to take shape, starting to look like a big blue box. Signage was going up, more panels were going up, the front entrance was done. And of course the inside, so the carpenters were building all the kitchen cabinets. All IKEA, everything was IKEA. More kitchens, these are the displays. And what we did is we hired actually builders for 2 months. There was teams of builders, and all they did was build all the furniture for all the displays. And so they were set up in stations, so teams. And that's all they did, is they built the furniture for 2 months solid, 2 months solid. And this is our warehouse. The contractor turned over the warehouse to us in September, approximately 3 months prior to us opening. So huge trucks full of product was coming every day, almost 24/7. These trucks were rolling in and getting offloaded and stacked into the warehouse. This is just a picture before all the racking went in. It was just one big open warehouse. We are the largest warehouse in Canada right now. I believe Montreal will surpass us, but so we had contractors to build the racking for this as well. This is just a really quick picture of them installing the restaurant equipment, the coolers, tray servers. And this was a big milestone for us. I'm not sure if you've driven past the corner of Sterling Lyons Parkway and Kenniston, that big tower that goes up with the big sign. When that big sign went up, it was like, wow, we're really here. This was huge. A crane had to hoist it up. They stretched this fabric over a triangle type sign. The contractors did, a sign company did. And as you can see, it was massive. It was just massive. It's actually 40 meters high, and we will and are the largest sign in Canada. So you can see it for miles. Probably Vancouver, I don't know. Definitely from an airplane. So this is just an aerial view. All those rooftop units that are sitting on the top was also craned by a special helicopter. The helicopter didn't have, like, you know how it's one big body? The body was hollowed out actually so that they could hoist a huge rooftop unit up and then crane it over and then drop it gently down. They had to do that for all the rooftop units. It was amazing, an amazing event, yeah. Every project has its risks. As a project manager, working with contractors and construction companies, even baking a cake, it can fail. Or maybe the temperature's not high enough. I experienced some pretty harsh risks. One of the biggest ones is we announced to the public we were opening November 28th. The very next week, we had a 12-inch diameter water pipe burst in the offices. There was water everywhere. It was the saddest thing. It was quite catastrophic, I guess, because we had just moved the flooring in, installed the flooring, we had the furniture, we had computers, we had everything in. We were going to move in. We needed to move in. And I have to say, as a project manager that's managing a job this size, in general, a project manager you can never let your team see a sweat or freak out. Never, because you're supposed to be this even-keeled, you know, got your stuff together. I didn't freak out in front of my team, but I went home and had a huge meltdown because this was, oh my God, we're not going to open. And we just announced to the public. And we didn't want to turn out to be another, you know, building in Winnipeg that misses its deadline. IKEA doesn't work like that. They open, when they announce it, they make it happen. We did. We ended up cleaning it up and everything was fine. But 2 weeks before we opened, we had a power failure upstairs on the second floor with all those displays. That was a sad thing too, because I was doing a deficiency. I was standing in the middle and all of a sudden I heard this big clap. I mean, it was like a whack. And then all of a sudden, the air conditioning, the lights, everything went out and it went pitch black. Again, yeah, I have to pull, like, you have to have plan A, plan B. What are you going to do? A project manager needs to be a problem solver. Yeah, I definitely learned how to solve problems for this project. Equipment wasn't coming in on time. We had people to install the equipment. Where am I going to put these 20 people that were supposed to put this display in? We had to move them to another display. I mean, it's just to manage, you know, managing balls, managing, you know, what's going to happen next. Always keeping people busy because they were costing my project money. Again, people were getting sick. People had to go home. People were coming. The hotels in Winnipeg were full of IKEA people. They loved us. And also construction. Sometimes the construction guys weren't done on time, so we had to kind of work around them as well, or push them to keep going. So here's the office space. I don't know if you can see that very well, but this was before the leak, about a week before, and they were pulling cabling, and then it burst. And these are just some of the displays that, it was quite amazing. They were like ants. These teams would go and build all the furniture, make it pretty, and then they put caution tape around it so that you wouldn't go into that area. It was off limits. I have to say it was an amazing project to work on. And that's the front entrance. The front entrance will change a lot. So yes, grand opening. There, we made it November 28th. By the skin of our teeth, we did open. I'm not sure if I had mentioned the qualities of a project manager. I learned this. Always having a positive attitude. You've got this team. I had 400 people that were looking at me, always trying to stay positive. Honesty. You know what? When those pipes burst, that was real. I couldn't sugarcoat that. That was real. How are we going to deal with this? How are we going to make it better? How are we going to clean up the mess? Honesty. Let's get her done. Don't tell me it's something that it's not. Lots of energy. To do this, you have to go, go, go. Coffee and Chocolate and I were very, very friendly with each other. I didn't sleep at all, but a lot of people didn't, trying to open this place. Working in a team environment. Project managers, you're always working in a team. How do you motivate them? How do you get them to keep going? How do you get them to build? Even if they make mistakes, it doesn't matter. You need to work around it. Help them. Change. Adapt and overcome. Change is constant. Project managers deal with change every day. And problem solver. Always. We're always problem solving all the time. People, the graphics department didn't have enough paper. Where are we going to get paper? Phone somebody local. Usually it came from Vancouver. Doesn't matter. Let's, always trying to find workarounds. And being very organized helps too. So what am I doing today? I am back at Pembina Trail School Division, but with a little bit different role. The school division is actually building a bunch of new schools on the south side of Winnipeg because of the new developments. I am passionate about construction and building. I understand it. I get it. I worked with interior designers, worked with architects. I always say I'm corralling the kittens, just making sure the kittens are going straight. So here I am building new schools. I'm passionate about what I do, and I'm grateful for all the experiences that I've had. I've always taken risks, never stop learning, love what you do, always take risks, as I say. Stand up for what you believe in, and don't let anybody get in the way of your dreams.